Hello, how are you?
Fine, fine, thank you.
Man, thank you very much for doing this today. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate your invitation. I'm gonna try to do my best because I'm not too fluent in English, so be patient, please.
Not a problem, not a problem. This is awesome. I was just kind of tell introducing the audience here to some of the subject matter and some of the movies that we're talking about today. And wow, you've been through a lot in some of these movies here with Lucio.
Yes, I've been, but there's coming new stuff you will enjoy a lot. I'm pretty sure of that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I can't wait. So, with your work in the horror genre, were you a fan of the genre, growing up? Did you love horror movies when you were young?
Yes, I was. I am a huge fan of horror since my early childhood, and I don't remember specific movies from my early childhood. When I say early childhood, it's really early childhood. So I mean, when I was 3 or 4 years old. Uh, because I used to watch horror films with sister of my mother, my aunt Ines, who is till the date a super fan of horror, and it was very influential in that period of my life.
Wow.
And well, the movies I used to see when I was a child was the typical movies from um, Universal or Hammer
Mm,
Productions. You know,
okay.
those were the movies that they put on Open TV
Okay.
during that. I mean, in the 80s. I'm almost 45 right
Mm.
now, so I'm talking about the 80s.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I, well, my mother passed away when I was 6 years old, and I have a super clear memory of myself before that period. So I was pretty young, and I remember myself I use poncho. Do you know what a poncho means?
Okay.
It's a garment you
Yep.
used to cover off the cold. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
and it's like a super long cloth, um, and I used the black poncho as a cape, which was a very long cape, like a Superman cape for me. And the vampire, I would have to say, and I had the typical plastic teeth, vampire plastic teeth.
Yeah.
So I used the cape and my vampire teeth, and I chased my sister. I have a super clear memory of my mother in the fence of the house, and me and my sister running and playing, and I was the vampire. Looking for her, she was using her rabbit teeth, and I was using my vampire teeth.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the first character of the world of horror, I suppose, that I remember was Dracula. Clearly,
Oh
Dracula was
man.
very influential in that period of my life.
And you
Yeah,
mentioned, some of those classics, and I mean, even still today, they're that for that reason, with just how influential and how, great and just foundation making movies. Dracula and Frankenstein. You have to love them.
a
They're
classic
amazing.
for monsters.
Yeah, sure,
That
sure.
I still love till now.
Yeah.
I'm totally in love with all those monsters. But I was 30 when I just saw Bride of Frankenstein,
Oh wow.
and that became one of my faves. Clearly,
Oh
it's an
yeah.
amazing movie.
Man, and such a cool sequel, to a lot of times you have some movies that the second or third, it's kind of a bummer, but Bride of Frankenstein was great.
Yeah, maybe better sequel ever, even
Yeah,
even.
yeah. I love it. I love it. Now, when you're
Exception that
oh, go
confirms
ahead.
the rule.
When you're growing up, do you have any examples of something like a local lore to you? And what I mean by this is maybe there was somebody that mentioned some monsters that were in the neighborhood, or a house that had ghosts in it, or some sort of possession. Did anything like that exist when you were growing up?
Yeah, there was. There are many legends, and when I was a child, I used to hear a family legend. It was told to me and my sister as a family legend, but then I grew up and I have heard the same family legend in every family.
Oh man.
So it's the typical the grandmother of the grandmother once in the past outside of the church. So there was another time. No, people live different from how we live now. So outside of the church, she found a poor young kid. She felt compassion for this person who was alone, and in fact, the legend is called La Leyenda del Guacho Cloro, which means the
Okay.
legend of Cloro the orphan.
Oh
Cloro is the
man.
name of this boy, this young person.
Uh-huh.
So the grandmother of the grandmother took him to her big house. Um, to make him an employee, because there are many things you have to do in a very big house in the country.
Sure.
So she was working with her. I don't know, maybe taking care of the horses, or I don't know what. But someday, for some reason I cannot remember, he did pact with the devil, so a covenant.
Oh,
And
okay.
after that, it came the time when the devil claimed for his soul. So he regretted by that moment, but he couldn't do anything to avoid fate. So
Oh my God.
it's grandmother of my grandmother was hearing strange noises during the night. So she went out of the house, and she found Cloro being dragged by the devil to a big hole in the backyard, and there was a strong smell of sulfur coming out from that hole, and they drag him inside, and he Cloro was screaming and begging for mercy, and the grandmother of my grandmother told him, "Pray, Cloro, pray, regret." But it was too late, so he disappeared inside that hole, and no one could never cover the hole, so it still remains and still smells like like sulfur, and until the day is a family legend. But
Uh-huh.
I think there are many similar family legends in our families, so I think I was someone lied to me in some aspect. But it was a
Oh,
very funny story, and about being a good person, not to be not to not to feel envy about what others have. So it was more like that, a story to teach you some values. I think.
sure, sure. Values and morals. I think, a lot of the
Yeah.
stories when we're younger and we're kids and we hear you grow up and you're like, what the heck? They're just trying to scare me into not smoking
Yeah.
cigarettes.
Now I do not have kids of my own, but I have some sobrinos,
Okay.
nephew,
Yep. Yep.
a couple of them, and my sister has told them the story of Clara the orphan again.
Oh God.
So all
Just
the
keep it
legends, so they
going.
also know legends. Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. Have you ever seen a ghost?
If I ever seen a ghost,
Yeah, yeah. Has anything like that ever
yes,
happened?
I'm
Oh,
convinced that I have, and I was a grown-up person when this happened to me. When I was in my 20s, I mean going to the university. I remember I get out from my house, have to cross a road, and I saw a man standing over there alone. For such a long time, because all the time I was walking to reach that same corner, he was there. When I reached the same place and I was side by side with him, I was about to cross the road. But then I get back immediately, because the ¿cómo se llama? El semáforo, because of the red light.
Okay.
I was just in a hurry. I tried to cross before light turned to green.
Oh.
But I regret at the moment because there were cars passing through the street. And I had my headphones put on my ears.
Yep.
But I wasn't listening to nothing. I'm gonna start listening when I get the subway or something.
Okay.
So I hear the man said to me, "Be careful." And nothing more. And I pretend I hear nothing. I don't know why, but I feel some kind of it felt uncomfortable, strange. I don't know why. Then the green light, I cross. I even wait for a couple of seconds, so he do first than me to see him. But he didn't. So I did. Well, I don't know who is this man standing here. Well, so I crossed. It took just 5 seconds to cross the street, and he didn't. So I felt curious because I think that's strange. The man is just standing over there, doing nothing. That's so strange. I thought he was about to cross just like me, but he didn't. So I look back as soon as I reached the next corner, and there was nobody. And I'm really convenient. I was there, and it was such a. There was not enough time for anybody to go far from my eyes, from my view. It was impossible. So I'm pretty convinced that was kind of ghost or something. I don't know.
Oh, God.
And that is not the only time. I have had some experiences.
Wow.
So I do believe in supernatural and things.
Okay.
But I do not believe everything people tell. But I'm convinced even that probably we're surrounded of supernatural events. But maybe it's not good that I say that. But maybe movies have done wrong with making us feeling fear of those experiences. I think probably most of the time those things are happening around us. We don't even notice.
Right.
Many of those times probably. But because of the movie, we have the idea that every time that something supernatural happens, probably something bad or terrible, and I think probably not. I also have another experiences, and I was a grown-up person by the time. It was even after the other, years after the other. I was sleeping in my house, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw at the end of my bed, and I saw in front of me, almost in front of me, a woman, but I saw her profile, not looking at me, but looking to the south. My cat, the cat I had by the time, Lupita, that's the name of. She passed away. My friend.
I'm sorry to hear.
I love her so much. Lupita was there, was just besides the woman, quiet, sat besides, and the woman was looking to the south, and it was such a pretty face, such a beautiful aspect. Was an old uh, costume, an
Okay.
old costume, a super strange hair dressing, and I had the feeling, because it was like a feeling, that if she turned to look at me, probably I would see the most beautiful face in the world. That was my feeling.
Uh-huh.
But she never did. She never turned to me. And
Oh man.
suddenly it started to disappear, becoming transparent until there was nothing, and my cat was still there. Then I talked about this to my father, and he said me maybe that was the elemental spirit of Lupita. I don't know.
Oh
Maybe
man.
Lupita knew. Maybe Lupita and that spirits have some kind of connection or something. I don't know. I don't know that.
Wow.
But but I clearly remember. So maybe I think, oh, maybe I was half asleep, maybe. But
Yeah.
so I remember to be so conscious of that, looking at that. And when she disappeared, I had a beautiful feeling inside of me. I felt like I'm a privileged person because she didn't look at me, but she let me see her,
Uh-huh.
and it was more than enough. That was amazing,
Oh.
and I was
Wow.
probably in my maybe in my 30s. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is, I can't say for sure, but I feel like I might have a little bit of a different reaction.
That's the thing, because the movies make you think that if you face a situation like that, probably
uh,
you will be scared to
yep,
death. So that's the idea you have when you haven't experienced.
yep.
But when things
That's
happen, you are
interesting. Interesting.
you are not even prepared for that. It happened out of the blue, out of
Uh-huh.
the blue. So you then you realized after those events take place, even
You're
not
like,
during the
huh.
moment yet
It's,
taking place. That is my impression about the supernatural experience.
wow. Wow.
Ever I have never seen something negative or bad. Yeah, some strange things, but nothing that make me, well, just once when I was 15. That was
Oh,
the only
gosh.
time when I felt, I don't say if horror, but I was scared. I was scared because it was too strange. But it was a you like in this is like in the movie, so it is pretty real that when women are in that period of their life and adolescents, so teenagers, um, something happened, or
Mm.
too many of us, I don't know, but it's true that there is some kind of energy or things around us is something is happening, then it stops when you grow up more. But when I was 14, 15, I experienced many things. I hear voices during the night. I felt a dog jumping into my bed, but I'm pretty convinced. I was convinced it was Pirincho, the dog of my grandmother,
Oh,
because
man.
the dog passed away in that home.
Oh,
I was pretty
my.
convinced of that. I convinced myself of that, so I wasn't afraid of Pirincho because Pirincho was almost human. Was an amazing dog. So I had that. Well, I convinced myself. I don't know if it was Pirincho or not, but I prefer to think it was. So
Wow.
once and this happened just once. I was I I was um, about start sleeping, and I clearly remember that I formulated this thought in my mind. I said, well, now I'm gonna sleep. I was feeling tired, and I thought, now I'm gonna sleep. And as soon as I had that thought in my mind, I felt an energy, a super strange energy, coming from sorry, above the bed.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
not above. Underneath the bed,
Okay.
coming
Okay.
underneath, and it pushed me so strong that I really levitated for several centimeters. I don't know exactly how much, but maybe 30 centimeters
Oh,
over my head, totally over my head.
jeez.
I even fall again in my bed, and I fall seated over the pillow.
Oh
I
my
was with my hand over
gosh.
the pillow. When I came back to the bed, when I fell down, I was sat over the pillow, and I was like, you know, that feeling that sweating, sweating,
Yeah.
all sweating. I was very scared, and my sister was sleeping in the bed just beside mine. She never noticed anything. She was sleeping, deep
Oh.
sleeping, and I was so scared that I didn't dare to do anything or say nothing, and I started to to cover me with the blankets and try to easy me. I don't know what happened. It was very strange. It was the only time my father and my sister thinks that maybe there was some, you know, there is a phenomenon. How
Okay.
does it?
Yep.
A phenomenon in which are supposed people. Oh, it has a name, but I can't remember even in Spanish.
Okay.
Um, can you remember? Where they're supposed the soul comes out from the body and visit other places, then come return to the body. It,
Um.
phenomena that there are many people that say
Yeah.
that experiences, and
Okay.
they learn even to control that.
Yeah.
I cannot remember
I,
what's
I
the name for
I know what you're
phenomenon.
talking
That's
about. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Right. Right. I can't think of the term, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. I can right now the name of the phenomenon. Well, there are many people who say that they experience that, and they even learn to how to control that.
Wow.
So concentrate to go where they want to go, and they return to their bodies. So my father says that he was able to do that in his youthness, and my sister said that it happened to her at least a couple of times, and she was able to control that. And they think that I was about to experience that, but I couldn't. Um, I'm not sure of that. That
Whoa.
yeah,
And this is kind of
yeah.
like a
I have
out of
experienced
body
some things in
experience.
my life, but I'm skeptical. I do not believe everything, and I think there are physical, chemical explanations that maybe still we don't know, but we will discover someday, maybe.
Sure. Oh
For many of the phenomena around us. But
man, oh man. You've had, I mean, just these couple of stories, you've had an interesting life and some interesting aspects of things that happen. And maybe even a little inspiration for acting and for depicting fear or depicting worrisome. How do you come into acting? How did you find that?
I'm I many aspects of my performance. I think I do in a. I'm kind of self-taught
Okay.
actress. I have took seminaries or um, cursos. I have studied, but a big part of what I do, I think, comes just some energy, some ideas I have inside me, because the way I try to go to travel inside the mind of my character is to convince myself totally about the reality of the situation that I am facing. So that's why I like horror movies, or I like to perform in horror movies, because they allow me to perform in situations that are completely out of the normal.
Sure.
And that is something that I like. Um, and I think I try to create a reality around the reality of the character itself. So I think that the circumstances that lead to the character to be put in that place, um, how was or is her life, not exactly for the scene, but outside of the scene, I have to shoot, or also that part of the life of the character that is never shooted, but exists to create the mental character,
Okay.
the mental characteristics of the character. So I think that it's the way I try. For example, this is a small character, a supporting character with short appearances in a movie, which is Sendero, Path.
Okay.
I don't know if you watched the movie,
I did.
but
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I am the woman, the injured woman they found on a road. That tried to help her, and then they were kidnapped. But the bad guys are the one. Well, it's not a big character in terms of, well, it does not appear in the whole movie. But to prepare that character on the feeling he was having, during several weeks, I was imagining the life she had before being kidnapped, and
Oh, wow.
the memories she had during the time she was trapped by these people, and all the things she was um, scared to forget and to lose forever. And that was the way I was preparing, a very emotional and deep travel into the mind of the character. So when the moment of shooting finally comes, I have all those memories inside of me, and in that moment, I left them to become part of the reality of the character. So I start every time while I was preparing these memories, this context. When I was about to cry, I stopped until the day I shoot. So
Oh,
yeah,
jeez. Okay.
and I try to feel everything. So she's injured in here, there, in this or that way, and I start imagining how this injury was made. How does it affect me? I even if it happened, but I have a fracture in my nose and injuries in my neck and the whole body. It looked terrible, that character.
Yeah.
And then the makeup, the costumes, everything helps you much more, a lot, because you have the complete
Complete.
aspect. It's not only
Right.
what it's in mind, but you see how you look, and this is the final result, and it is there is, but you never have to forget what is inside. So before shooting my scenes, I I walk away some measures from my team and stay alone for some minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I don't know, just to think about everything I was preparing mentally for the character. And when I was ready, I do a signal to Lucio, so he knows my
Okay.
process. And I
Uh-huh.
nothing, not talking, because you interrupt
You're in the
the
character.
curve
Sure,
of
sure.
feeling. Yeah, but this. So yeah, someone bring Ximena to the set. So someone go bring me to the set, and I was just walking, breathing, everything like the character. So I tried to stay, and there were many takes for that scene, but many takes, because each one of the characters was talking in some, and I did my best in each take, and at the end I was super tired, I was exhausted, and Lucio says, now we're going to make your take.
What?
What?
Wow.
I've done everything in each take for everyone. So I'm so exhausted. I don't know if I can cry again. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to cry more.
Oh my gosh.
But
Wow.
I did it. I did it. I was able.
Wow. Wow. Man, oh man. Now, do you have a regular process from, some of the movies, that you're in are very traumatic. They're very extreme, and for good reason as far as, telling different tales of things that have happened in past. Do you have a process of trying, of kind of cleaning that all away and, coming back to reality after putting yourself in some of these dark situations?
At the beginning, when I started
Uh-huh.
my acting career, I was confused about the process of coming out.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there is another movie which previous than Sendero. The name is my God, cannot remember. But it's the first movie, well, the second movie Lucio did.
Is it Wicked
Um,
Woods?
Wicked
Yeah.
Woods. Yeah, that's the name in English.
Okay.
In Spanish, the name in Chile is Perfidia.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
Wicked.
beautiful. Okay.
And I cried a lot. I did all the dubbing for the child and the grown-up character. Is all the voices are done by myself, and it was very intense. Same. It was a character that does not appear during the whole movie. It's just a couple of scenes, but they are very intense of making.
Mm-hmm.
And before I shoot my part, they show me what they have shooted previously with the children.
Okay.
One of those children is supposed to be me, and the other is Ruben, the main character. When we were kids, and I was kidnapped or something in the forest, and he find me again, but when he's a grown man and I am a grown woman, and the work the kids did for that movie was so good, and I saw the scenes without sound. I think they could show me the material, but without sound.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was intense. That was very important information for my own character, about the moment she was taken in the woods by someone or some strange force, that it was relevant for me. And then when we shoot our scene, I have such a sad feeling, that I couldn't stop crying. It was terrible, But when we finished, so I mean, the next day, I was still so invaded by that feeling that I was surprised of myself, because I couldn't stop feeling that something inside of me has split up, and I am no more just Ximena. I am Ximena, and this other woman, and I don't know if this is gonna stop at some point. But this is how I feel now, and it's strange, and I can't stop crying. I was in the bus returning to my home, and there were tears running through my face.
Oh no.
Really, really, I couldn't stop feeling. Then I was working, and I was telling one of my colleagues at work about my experience, and I was telling him what I should, and I was starting to cry again because I couldn't take this character out of me. It was terrible.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was scared when I played the character of Path, Sendero, that the same thing happened to me. But it happened. I learned to understand the limits between one and the other, and now I manage this differently.
Just be able to wash
I
it
feel
away.
in a very intense way during the moment we're shooting. Totally immersed in the feeling, and what is happening inside. I forget there are cameras or everything, but then I am able to come out. Of course, for example, in a scene which was super intense, very intense, like the assault in the house in Trauma.
Yeah.
That was pretty intense, because it was just one take. There are no multiple takes, just one take, and the scene was shot with 2 cameras simultaneously. So that's why they have angles, because there are 2 cameras rolling, not because there are different takes. So the process started. Every one of us knew what our own limits were according to the character. We were absolutely conscious there are some things that must happen during the execution of this moment, this scene, but there's a lot of improvisation, and it's inevitable because it's pure energy, and the sweating, some kind of pain, tears, screams are super real, and we shoot that scene during 2 different nights. That
Yeah. Sorry about that.
At one point, one of the guys bites the cheek of one of the characters. Magdalena, that's the name of the character, which is Dominga Bofill, the actress, bites it. So it was necessary to add prosthetic to complete that scene. And that was the moment we stopped filming that day. And we continue next day from that point, which was, I think, I can talk for myself, but I really think we were all kind of stressed, but nobody say it in loud voice because nobody wanted to feel insecure, the rest of the cast, about the fact that we are starting from one point which is not calm, because from the beginning the scene is very tense, but it is this tension is growing until it becomes almost unbearable, and but we are reaching step by step this emotion. But the next day we had to start
up
from that
there.
point. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue. And I was like, what? How could we start just from that point to continue to the end? Well, I'm gonna try. We are all gonna try, but I think it's kind of difficult. But we did it. It was amazing.
Wow.
It's like you erase everything that happened in between takes, and you just continue. And we did it. And they were all the people there so committed. I mean, all the actors, the rest of the team, the crew. It was amazing. It was so intense that at the end, when we finally got that scene, it was really done, and they were in silent. I mean, the crew, in silent. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to approach to you because they were impressed, and they had been suffering the same. So watching sometimes watching is as hard as doing, as performing. And even for the people who couldn't hear what it was happening, and they decided to get out of the set, but they were still hearing.
Oh no!
I don't know if maybe it would have been better just to stay and see, because if you are just hearing, your imagination it's even worse than reality. So
oh my!
but at the end of that scene, I went to the room we had prepared for the makeup, doing makeup and everything. I just took a little corner, make a roll of myself, and I finished my crying because it was so intense. But then I was seeing my team, and I said, can't believe we did this. Can't believe we achieved the goal of making such a brutal scene. And during a moment, it was so real. I really, I'm speaking for myself, but I didn't saw cameras, saw nothing. I was just immersed in the situation, performing, still understanding what my limits are, but totally immersed in the situation. And then when Lucy says cat, it's like returning to reality, but it's very strange after having such a rough, intense moment. No, it's but at the same time, I felt so proud, and I'm still feel so proud about what we did, what we achieved as a team. It was really amazing. Because it's one of the takes last almost between 20 and 30 minutes. They're very long.
Holy shit, really?
But then in the edition, where they use a portion. But 2 nights with very, very long takes of that moment. So that is why it was so intense.
Oh, wow.
But no retake or anything. It's just the execution of the scene. And Lucio prepared us this way. He had script reading sessions with the women, and script reading sessions with the man separate. So we have an idea of how this could be when we finally made on set, but not an exact idea. And so the first time I saw Daniel Antillo and Felipe Rios breaking into the house, when they shoot that specific take, We were not there because they only need that specific take of them and the
Oh,
door opening.
okay. Yeah.
But I was um, back of the camera, man.
Okay. Yep.
I was in the
Like
back,
behind. Yep.
behind. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I was behind the camera, and I was watching everything because I wanted to know what I had in my mind the next day. And when I saw the the face, the attitude, I was my stomach. I was feeling it hurts my stomach. I like a little tremor. I was very scared, and I wasn't shooting, but I was just watching what I. This is what I have to have in my mind. This is what I'm gonna see tomorrow for real, and the way they enter the house, it scared me to death. Really, the
Oh
face
man.
they just break into and walk into, and wow, I was impressed. I couldn't believe they are the same guys I know, the nice guys I know. I couldn't believe they are because they are the nicest guys in the world. You cannot imagine. So looking at that was like I can't believe this. My God, how can I stand it to her? But it was okay. It was cool. But it is amazing what they did because I think to play the villain, the bad, it's much more difficult for me.
Oh,
That's how
that.
to play the victim because for me because to play the victim is something that I think I understand better, that it's in some aspects much more normal than being the person who damage,
Yeah.
hit,
Yeah.
kill, or
Yeah.
most. I don't know people who have killed another. I have never killed a person. I have, those things because of the press, because of the news, because those things are every day happening,
Mm-hmm.
which is a reality.
Right.
It's true. Violence is a reality.
Right.
But you are a lucky person. Probably this didn't happen to you
Uh-huh.
or your family, so you don't have um, real notion of what a
Sure.
person that commit those felonies, crimes, feel or is. That's why it is so necessary for actors to try to know people who are out of the norm, or, well, at least read a lot, have a very deep conversations about this phenomena,
Mm.
these pieces of reality and history,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to in some way dig into this um, psychologies that break all the rules, and that's why I think it's particularly difficult to be in the skin of those kind of characters. So that's why I am so impressed of Daniel Antivilo
Yeah.
as Juan in the movie for his job, because as I said, he's the kindest person I know, and he's a
Oh.
super cool in film. He's always worried about your safety, your security. You feel good. So watching him being that evil
Oh my
person
God.
beyond beyond the reality for me. So that's why Tibilo, you did it. It's it's pretty common that bad characters are portrayed in such a parodic way. That Yeah, the mask is there, but it has no. There is no deepness. It's caricaturas, caricaturization.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep.
Deepness
Yep.
could be.
Okay.
Um,
I mean,
he achieved something very strong, real.
especially with seeing Daniel in Sendero, prior to this, and then seeing him in this, I'm like, oh no, come on, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be this guy. Come on.
There's
Oh
many
my
people who
god.
say, I am afraid of seeing this guy because I watched the movie and I can't see this guy. It scares me.
You
And I
know,
said the
but
same to them. Who is the nicest person? But he had the look. He's a tall, strong, big guy. But he's the nicest person.
But as far as the story too, I think what was so terrifying was the fact of that it starts as Juan being a young man and seeing the damage done when he's a child and he's being brought up with these absolutely heinous, horrible things, and then coming back to him being a grown adult and just repeating the process
Yeah.
is absolutely terrifying. Now, with trauma, a story depicted of brutality of the Chilean dictatorship. Did you have any sort of awareness of some of these stories, or um, this existing part of Chile's history?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You have to think this happened in 1973, so it's not too much. Well,
Oh,
50
oh
years
wow.
by
Okay.
now, but
Okay.
not too much in terms of history. So the fact is, the topic is still here in Chile very difficult to discuss because there
Okay.
are many victims. Still, there are many victims.
I should have
And
reworded too. I just wanted to say, as far as when you were coming up and in school, the extent of the brutality was really kind of what I was asking, as far as like, were you aware of, and was that something that was talked about in school?
not in school
No. Okay.
because
Okay.
no, in school they just
They were bad
um,
guys, and there was good
no,
guys, and
well, at least when I was a child, we were the dictatorship was until 1989. I was born in 1980, so it's a very particular story because the dictator left the power, and there was votes. People vote.
yep.
The people choose, which is not normal. Normally, when you are under a dictatorship, you cannot vote. You do not have the right to choose. But in this case, which I think maybe it's the only country in the world that this happened, people could vote in 1989, and the options were yes, we continue with Augusto Pinochet in the power, the dictatorship, or no, and we have elections to elect a new president in democracy. And many people thought by the time that most of the population would be so afraid of being spied during the process of
Okay. Yep.
voting
A retaliation
that
of some sort.
probably
Okay.
they
Okay.
would vote yes, but because they were afraid of the consequences, and they didn't believe it was true, it was for real, the possibility to choose between those options. But finally, the option that one was no. So we want to stop this period in our history and start with a new president elected in democracy. And this happened. But it was hard for all the people. The country is completely divided between those who still claim that we would have another Pinochet and those who claim that's the worst thing that happened to our democracy, to our history, which is true, because the consequences last till now. The population is still divided between those options, and
and this was in the 70s.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so insane to think of, how recent some of these things were.
And it is amazing, but many people prefer to forget the atrocities, the murders, the disappeared person, because they thought there was some kind of stability, economical stability here in the country. And we economically grew a lot if we compare with rest of Latin America, which is true. But on the other side, there's the brutality. So, of course, the better thing is to have a democracy. And I know it's very hard that we have to move on, but this process gonna take much more years. We are still divided. It's very sad and very hard, but it's the situation in our country. And about the brutalities, in the movie, the story of the girls in the movie, the girls, the house, the guy breaking into the house, is not real. It's not based on a real story. What is based on a real story is the character of the torturer, the guy who ¿cómo se dice? Criar, grow, teach young Juan.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and not exactly a reality, but the procedures, the introduction of rats inside women's bodies through the vagina, for example, that happened. Oh well, the use of electricity that happened in many places, and it still happen. So Guantanamo or whatever, there are many places, and it is still happening. And
Jesus.
And those things are real. That there was some kind of sexual violence, particularly cruel and sexual violence against detained person. That was real. There was even a detention center called how do you call the piece of cloth you put in your eyes to cover your eyes so you don't see?
Like a oh my gosh, like a blindfold?
Bandage, a bandage.
Oh, okay.
Just for sexy reasons. No, not for cure.
Like a blindfold?
Blindfold.
Okay.
Yes, there's a detention center called the Sexy Blindfold. Venda Sexy in Spanish.
What?
Because of the detained person there was usually blindfolded, and they were and there was a lot of sexual torture, particularly sexual torture, humiliating against in that place in particular. Not the only probably, but that one was particularly brutal in that aspect. Raping dogs to rape people. That happened. That's a reality. It's amazing, yeah. It is amazing, but this happened. It really took place in the country. So there are many people who prefer to deny that reality because there was some other positive aspects, economic things like that. But You have to put everything,
Yeah.
and
You can't
yeah,
outshine, the positives of money to how we are now treating people. That that never outweighs.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
Many of the things that took place here are beyond imagination. So many of those things, when I read about them, are almost unbearable. But there are still survivors.
Fuck,
Still,
man. Did in the process of being introduced to the script and to this story, and hearing more, I guess, behind the scenes with this, did Lucio have any visual or audio reference of some of these atrocities, that have been kind of mentioned as reference for this?
during the process of our script reading with the female team, we had some. We read and discuss about some documents, official documents, um, with testimonial, um, with testimonies of people who was victim during that period, and not only victims of that period in particular. I mean, the dictatorship, the el golpe de estado, the cap,
Uh-huh.
but also in situations with, which have no relation with political context, which is another reality, of course, to compare things and our own experiences, because as females, we not such brutal maybe, but we all have some kind of experiences about abuse, um, and we use all material we have, even our own lives, to talk about that, about how we feel, what we think, and what did I know by our own experience about situations of abuse. And we use that private information also to perform the movie. There is many discussions about why girls did nothing, why they just paralyzed, why they were four women, just two guys, and why. And it's an interesting discussion because in do you remember what I said before about supernatural experiences?
Uh-huh.
And you said, well, I would not react as you
Right.
if I
Right.
experienced.
Uh-huh.
Well, in situations of abuse, same happen to people. Uh, it it's something. It's an experience that break in such a violent way into your mind that the only way you have to protect is deny reality. Many victims experience that feeling.
Mm.
Deny reality. First thing your body, your mind do to protect you is deny reality. You cannot believe this is true because you don't want to know this is happening for real. And then what do you have to save is your life
Uh-huh.
before anything else. You are not thinking about, oh, I am this guy is sustaining my dignity with his conduct. No, save your life is the first thing.
Right.
And
Wow.
many animals paralyzed in nature to save their lives. Even insects do that.
Mm-hmm.
They paralyzed, they pretend to be dead just to save their life, because there are many predators that lost interest in the victim when they see it's not reacting,
Uh-huh.
because the victim is reacting, probably the predator will be much more violent, and the probabilities to save your life are lower. So your mind is not thinking in terms of save my dignity.
Uh-huh.
Is thinking mainly in terms of save life. Then I will see what I do. But now, in this moment, it's my life, just my life. And it's not strange that a person just got paralyzed just during that, because we are talking about people, in this case this woman, who clearly are not women who are in situation of being abused all the time, or they are very modern girls, professionals or students.
They're out on
They
vacation, enjoying life.
yeah, they
Yeah.
are living in a city. So this break into their minds in such a violent way that it's very difficult. They can do something different than just remain quiet,
Yeah.
hoping this do not become even worse.
Uh-huh.
That's the situation. That's the way
Man.
we understood and faced the script. I understand the discussion about this. Maybe something better could have been done. I don't know, but the approach we did for that scene and for that situation was something that we discussed a lot, and because it was necessary for the movie to continue the script, to continue the developing of the action. But no, no, but
But
really, it was.
with you saying that though, in regard to the you don't know how you will react. There's different things as far as watching a movie and somebody gets rear-ended, and they're like, "Oh, I would get out and I would beat their ass and I'd be angry and they have somebody hit them in the back of their car."
Mhm.
But in real life, you have that shock and you have this kind of momentum and
Yeah.
in your mind where you're thinking, am I really messed up? Am I really hurt right now? I love that you break it down like that. And in the movie, I didn't necessarily see it being something that was, where I'm like, oh, this wouldn't happen. Because when something as extreme like what it is that's happening right then, it felt very real in the moment of, what the fuck am I going to do? How am I going to deal with this? I don't know how to. I just need to survive. I need these guys to leave. Um, oh God, I'm telling you, I had kind of explained that when I initially watched this movie, before it was available over in the United States, it was on YouTube, and somebody had put subtitles, and there was like 30 minutes that were shortened off the movie from the brutal moments. And then you and I talked about an interview, and after I was like, oh, I'll go and I'll watch Trauma again, and I saw the full cut, and I'm like, what did I do? This movie is so brutal and sad, and oh my
Yeah.
goodness, just the concern for for your characters and the extremity that everything went into. Um, I love the story that you mentioned too with that break-in scene and them being long, cuts and having the momentum building up and building up. Um, as far as you know, where were
It
some of the
was
other?
like performing a play on stage for a
I'm
public.
still wrapping my
It was
head
like
around
that.
this. Yeah.
Because it was like a happening. It is happening now. It will not be repeated.
Uh,
This is now, just now. It was like that.
was
It was a risk. Lucio took the risk to
oh
do that.
yeah. Well,
Because you
right.
never know how the results are going to be, but he took the risk. We were very committed. We are very committed to the project. Very, 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 absolutely delivered to the project. So he took the risk.
Oh my gosh. With as extreme as this movie is, were there any scenes that were actually cut that were just too far that they didn't get to use?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
what?
to start, those scenes that occurred in the past when Juan was a kid, a teenager, are also very large filming
Oh,
sessions,
oh
larger
God,
than
you
you can
kidding?
see in the final movie. So they are really like little short films by themselves, very well performed by this other guy, bad guy, yeah, Alejandro Trejo as the torturer father,
Okay.
yes, of Juan. Was amazing, also amazing in his role, and those sessions are much more longer than you can see in the movie. And there is a scene which is absolutely brutal. So, do you remember after the raping, the assassination of Magdalena? Take the police comes, two cops come to the house, yeah. And they took the girls, and they take them out. They go in the cops police in the car of the cops, and when they are inside the car, there's a scene that finally was not included, and they are already inside, all of them, means three girls, two cops, and they start to hear dogs barking, which is kind of strange because it is signal that something strange is happening. So they went out of the car and leave the woman inside. So we are going to take a look. Just stay here, don't move, remain inside. So they go. They surround the house looking for something strange, and they found it. The situation is two guys have broke into the house, and they are raping the dead body of Magdalena, the girl with the.
Oh my God!
So they both at the same time. One from back, and the other, well, the remains of the head, because you know how how the character ends up. So I remember when we shoot that. Well, it wasn't the script, but I always thought this may be too much. But well, and
you think?
this maybe. When they shoot that, I was inside the house. We use a real house as a location, and I was in the makeup room, and I was silent, as we all were in silence, but we were listening to the developing of the scene. And I was thinking, I can't believe Lucio Rojas convinced all of us to do this. This is like too much. And the guys that are raping Magdalena's body are two of the guys that were in the bar in the scene when they get into the little village, the town, and they come into a bar to ask for some information about how to find the house they are looking for. Yeah, there are many guys inside the bar. They all look suspicious, ugly, and rustic, to say the least. And two of those guys have broken
Were the ones that
into
broke
the
into the house. God damn.
Madam's corpse. And the idea was, this is like Daniel Antivilo's character, Juan, is the main villain of the whole town. It's like the big dog, the boss dog, and the others are the rest of
just kind of like the henchmen, you know, the followers.
Yeah, he has the power, and the rest is like eat what he left.
Yep. Okay.
So that was the idea.
Yep. I
but
see.
Then when it was included in the movie, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like, no matter if it was Juan the previous night, or just this couple of guys the other day. So the fate for this girl is they are inside a town full of um, and a
Yeah.
criminal men.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
no matter if it is one or it would have been any of them could have been done. So it was like um, making Juan's character less interesting, less strong than he was. That's how it felt, and because it's different. The feeling when you read a script is different when it's done, because are different mediums. So
Uh-huh.
it's
Right.
it. So when finally it was very well executed, but when you see it, feels like it's like Juan is not so big boss. It's
Oh,
like
okay. Almost taking away from the villainous of
yeah,
him and
yeah,
the
yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. I
Exactly,
see.
that exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing was done, was considered, but then was took off because of that. And I was totally, and I agree. I totally agree. I, but there are some German editions of drama that includes um, deleted scenes or things,
Uh-huh.
and I think at least one of those
Has that in
releases
it?
that, yeah, I think.
Uh,
And there is the project to make a, because Germany is a country in which trauma has its fans. Yes, so in Germany there's a particular taste
yeah.
for violence and very extreme
Extreme and
cinema.
uh
So trauma has been launched many times to the market, almost every
wow.
year, and and it's sold out. And so they are adding different things in a new edition to make it attractive to the
Yeah. Yeah.
public
Okay.
for the niche. And one of those editions include that scene, and there is a project, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not finally, about making extended version of the movie including those scenes and enlarging the torture scenes of the past. There is another scene which was also deleted. It's not a traumatic scene, but do
Okay.
you remember Julia is cheating
Yep.
her
Yep.
girlfriend with the cousin?
Mm-hmm.
So with the young
Yeah.
cousin, with
Yeah.
the young cousin. Well, and the elder sister of my girlfriend see everything, and she hates Korea.
Mm-hmm.
My character, she
Mm-hmm.
hates. But there is a scene in which she says to Julia that she saw everything, and that was deleted. So, according to the shooting and according to the original script, that information exists. That Julia is conscious about
Oh.
why she that she hates her that much.
Oh,
But in
okay.
that, I don't know exactly what was the reason, but they decided to take this out. So Julia, so it seems that Julia doesn't know that she was watched kissing with the little cousin by her her girlfriend's elder sister.
Oh,
I thought that
man.
was not
And something
that.
that that could have been in there too. And I think I definitely would have rather seen that than I think the other deleted scene that you'd mentioned. As much as I am a fan of extreme or horror, when it gets to some of the points that trauma comes to, I have to pause and walk away for a minute because there's a lot of brutality that was going on, and hearing your behind the scenes take on building this character and dealing with these things. Can you bring us back to your final scenes in trauma? In trauma, I'm sorry, and the mechanism and practical effects that were involved with that.
Yeah, that mechanism was designed by Alex Hurtado, who used to work with Lucio in every project. So
Okay,
as you can see, we're a team in front or behind the camera. Many of us repeated different projects,
beautiful.
and Alejandro, Alex Hurtado, made the design, and Blacksmith constructed it. Believe it or not, the stripes were not didn't hurt me, or the
The hooks.
the hooks caused me no pain, but it's stupid. But what caused me a lot of pain was the what do you say,
Almost like the helmet or the strap. Yeah. Okay.
The headband.
Yeah.
Because it was too rustic and too heavy, and while I was using it, it was digging into my forehead.
Man. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I tried once for just a moment before shooting, but when we shoot, it was really digging into him, and it was causing me a lot of pain and pressure. And at the end, when finally got the scene, I screamed to my colleagues, take out this, my cat. but the hooks did not damage anything. But then that was my last scene, so it was not a problem for the press.
Okay.
But I had a little little injury here.
Good Lord.
A red line. Yes.
Wow. Man.
Yeah.
No, man. I mean, and what a journey with. Yeah.
I was afraid because in some moment, Daniel Antivilo, Juan, has that piece he used to
crowbar or something.
Joe. And there are some moments in which he has to put very near of my mouth a real one, and so I was kind of afraid of if he, because he was so intense as a character, so you feel there's one you're really scared. Yes.
My gosh, like I say, I appreciate all the stories about the movie there.
And he's singing our national anthem. That is the song he's singing.
Yeah.
National anthem, which is Chile.
It's It's creepy. It is creepy, and when you have that context in it, because I was looking up the lyrics as what he was singing to what the song was, and I was like, oh my God, that's our national anthem.
National anthem. So that's why it's so complicated.
Dark.
Movie like that. No, it means nothing in other contexts in other countries, but it is meaningful here.
Right. Wow. I mean, and that was such a huge, moment for you as far as your career with acting. And, it's something that I still see a lot of horror fans today talk about and put on their lists. But you have a new movie coming out called Profania. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah. Well, we said Profania, but it's an invented word that not exist.
Okay. Yeah. I want to, out of respect, say it correctly if I can.
Lucian likes to give titles to the movies with just one word.
Yeah. Okay.
That is what he likes. And international versions maybe have different kind of titles, but he likes to entitle his movies with just one word.
Simple and clean. I love it.
Yeah, it's very different. We shoot the movie in Argentina, The
Oh wow.
movie is. I think we're going to have a trailer during the second half of this year.
Oh
There's a
wow.
super cool cast. One of the actors that I respect the most in Argentina, which is Germán Baudino, an amazing guy.
Wow.
Uh, and I play the villain. So
Wow.
this is my
Okay.
vengeance. So whatever I have suffered, this is my revenge.
So you get to kind of take on the opposing role this time then after all you
Yeah,
went through in the last
absolutely,
feature.
absolutely. And as this is a horror fantasy movie, I have superpowers, not just common
Oh
normal
wow.
powers. Superpowers. Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Okay.
And, and I look very transformed in this movie. I I would like so much to show something to the people, but I
Yeah,
cannot
yeah, yeah.
because
I
yeah,
don't want to there any
I
spoilers
haven't
or, I don't want anything
posted
like that, but
photos or anything because I have a very interesting transformation. I have prosthetic pieces in my head and my face
wow.
and horns, even horns, because I am a creature. And no, it's a very interesting character. Um, when I see for the first time myself transform into that witch, it's a witch. I was amazed of how I look. I look
That's
much
me.
more older,
Wow. No kidding.
decades older. But it's very interesting look. I think it's like a crossing between Japanese kabuki
Okay.
look
Yeah,
and a
sure.
pagan style.
Wow.
Um, it's like a blend of both, and looks very interesting. There was a big work to 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 search for something that has not been seen before, to create a character that you do not compare with any other characters already existing in cinema.
Uh-huh.
So it was a big challenge to try because it is almost all done by now. But they create a very particular character, and it was very interesting for me to perform it. And because of the characteristics of that character, the way I face it, it was like an animal, like an animal cruelty. I mean,
Oh,
you can see
wow.
how the big deer trapped by, I don't know, a lion or a tiger, I don't know, a big animal, a big fierce animal.
Wow.
You say, looks terrible, but it's cruel, but it's nature cruelty, not evilness.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
the cruelty which in the nature creatures need to survive.
Yep. Yep.
The way I faced my witch is almost the same.
Oh,
Not feeling not feeling particularly good because I'm doing bad, but understanding I need to do this because this is part of my way to survive. And that's the way I worked on the psychology of my character.
wow.
So it's a group of soldiers, a small group, um, which is patrolling a place, in a rural place, um, and they find a very big old house, and something strange happened. It's full of blood, but there are two survivors, and they start questioning those two persons what happened or everything. So they tell them a fantastic story about a witch or a creature and they do not believe. They think they are in shock or whatever, and they have to stay for the night, and they will find if that is true or not, and start a fighting to survive until the next day. And that's the movie. It happens in one night. All the
Oh,
fights happen
damn.
one night, from one day to the other. But there are moments in which there are racontos, or flashbacks,
Uh-huh.
racontos,
Right.
in which we see how did they get to the house. So it's very interesting because there are different times inside the same narration, and it's a very interesting movie with a lot of action and no sexual violence. It's much more action, violence, but in
Thank
but very
God.
different. But yeah, and unrealistic situations, which is very interesting.
Wow.
Unrealistic characters, surreal characters, and it's something we wanted to do from a long ago because it's very difficult in terms of budget to get budget to work to create a fantastic work because you need much more resources than creating real
Hmm.
context, even if they have violence. But to create a surreal context, you have to invest much more budget in creating these scenarios, the characters, the aspect, the makeup, or even the deaths, because the deaths can have some unreal, surreal aspect
Uh-huh.
that in reality are of course omitted. And that was the big challenge for this project. And there is, well, no, I don't
Don't.
want to talk too much. There is
Don't.
something like a big monster in one moment of the movie, which is a real new for us to to achieve as a team, and to put something, a character like that in a movie is the first time we can. We hope not the last, but it's a very interesting character included in one part of the movie, besides me.
Damn.
I mean, and and apart from me,
Yeah.
and this is well, in big production is not a big deal maybe, but for us here in Latin
Uh-huh.
America, where we can produce movies so often as we could, as we would
Right.
like, we cannot.
Right.
This is such a
I,
big thing, such
I
a big achievement.
I am very, very excited for this. Is this something? Is there any sort of like plan of release date or kind of talk as far as still within 2025, or are we looking maybe next year? I'm not looking for anything particular, but I didn't know if there was
I
anything.
think, well, the movie is still in post production, but
Okay.
it is um, very well, good rhythm working. So I think we will have a trailer.
Okay.
Trailer. I think at the beginning of
Okay.
the half of this
Okay.
year, and
Okay.
we are trying to premiere the movie during the second half.
Oh, wow.
There,
Okay. So still possibly even
but
within this year.
yes, that's we're trying, but if not, at the beginning of the
Yeah.
next. So we work with low budget here. Please keep that in your minds. Please, please,
Listen,
please.
listen. And I really I wanted to reach out to you, and I am eternally grateful for your time today. Your guys' work, and you and Lucio and Daniel and the whole crew, and that kind of appear in some of these, a number of these pictures. You guys are doing a great job, and I absolutely love it, and it's something that if I can do my part of kind of putting it out there to help people, check out some of these movies and expand past some of the silly horror movies and remakes that we have over and over here in the U.S., there's some beautiful things going on in America. And Ximena, I mean it. I really appreciate the time today. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your words, your kindness, for having me here and having been so patient
You
to hear
did
me.
great. You did
Sometimes
great.
I got stuck with words or verbal expressions or
Yeah.
the use of, I don't know, some words, but I
You
am
did
doing
great.
my best, my
Yeah,
best.
yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Anybody that was watching, this will be up on YouTube in the next couple of months here. Every Tuesday, I have a new episode go up, so I'll have that posted on there forever. And yeah, like I say, thank you so much once again, and I look forward to seeing Profania.
Yes, I'm waiting. I've been waiting for so long to see the movie, but I've been watching clips, and the movie looks great. Looks great,
Awesome,
and
awesome.
yes, the part of our team was new. I'm in the crew
Oh,
because
okay.
it was the first time working in another
Yeah.
country, abroad from Chile, and it's an amazing crew in Argentina. People
Oh,
which is so talented, so committed to the project, and yeah, it was exciting to meet them. We have been working more after that. In
oh,
fact,
okay. Wow.
it's another movie, which is a horrible movie, violent, horrible movie with
Oh
sexual
boy.
abuse,
Oh boy.
um, which is The Basement Games. That's the title. It's a
Oh
service
boy.
movie. The producer is a German. It's a German guy who runs little production company.
Okay.
The name is Red Room Books,
Oh, okay.
and they they are the people who have launched Trauma
Oh, yeah.
in
Okay.
German
Uh-huh.
market during the last years in a very successful way. So they decided to start producing their own movies, and the first movie was given to Lucio to be the director, and is based on a book which is what is it? the a bestseller for
Okay.
the producer
Mm-hmm. Okay.
for his company, and that's the title of the book, The Basement
The
Games.
basement game.
And it tells the story of a young woman kidnapped by a couple of brothers. Sounds familiar, but and she is, well, I don't want to describe the atrocities she
Sure.
experiences. And I play a little character that is important because it allows to understand the psychology of this couple of brothers, which is the mother. And I play that role in that movie. It's a very interesting
Oh
role. I
man.
think this movie is going to be premiered at the end of this year or at the beginning of the next. They are at the same time. We're working at the
Wow.
same time. Post production is
Wow.
running
No
about both.
kidding.
Yes.
Man, oh man. Very busy. Lots going on. See, all the different things coming out, and I have to say I will be definitely watching Profania. The basement games, I'm gonna be a little leery. That might be going a little too far into the field of extreme, but I'm probably still gonna give it a try just out of respect. So if I send any of you guys a picture of me puking, then just know I've watched it.
When the time comes, I'm gonna send you information about these 2 weeks, of
Beautiful,
course.
beautiful, beautiful.
Can give us a hand by talking about it. Would be nice.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Let me know. I am here to help any way I can. Ximena, thank you so much. I've had just about 2 hours of your time. This has been
two
beautiful.
hours? Really?
Just
I
about.
can't,
We've been
I
having so
can't
much
believe it.
fun. This is great. This is great. But like I say, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the stories, the behind the scenes, And we'll be in contact here soon. I'm sure we'll be talking again about future projects.
Same I say, Eric. It was a pleasure to meet you. It was a pleasure to write. We do receive your invitation and then your kindness. Because I have to tell the people, my first answer was no, because I said myself, I said, no, I don't dare to do an interview in English. Oh my God, I know a little, but it's not enough. And I,
You
so,
did great. You
yeah,
did great. It was awesome. Yeah.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
I was nervous about this.
No, you did great, and we made it through. So yeah, once again, I really appreciate it, and we will talk soon.
We talk soon. I hope so. So thank you again,
Yep,
and I
yep,
wish
no
you the
problem.
best
Yep, you as
to your
well. Yep.
program.
We will have to figure something out here once Profania comes out. Maybe have on a couple of the other cast members, but in the meantime, you take care and have a good night.
Yeah, I know now. I know how to come out of my character. Don't you worry.
Beautiful. All right, take care. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.